So you'll notice a theme on the three stories I'm going to talk about today is it's a larger industry trend supported by a couple of different stories that I've just kind of seen trending across the past couple of weeks. And the first one is related in this concept of luxury brands partnering with chefs, which I covered back in the days when this show used to be called the Emulsion Podcast, because it was this crazy thing where Massimo Bottura was actually friends with, or if I remember right, he almost went to high school with the guy who is like one of the Gucci family people.
Oh, wow.
And they partnered together, Massimo and the Gucci family, to open Gucci Osteria. And it opens, and they go on to earn actual Michelin stars with these concepts. And it is this fusion of these two things that the Michelin world or high-end fine dining echelon already kind of associates together. Because you're going to go to eat at the 2 Michelin star or 3 Michelin star restaurant. You're also going to be staying at the Four Seasons Relais and Chateau property. And you're also going to go shopping at Louis Vuitton or some sort of LVMH, type of place. And to be honest, when I started covering those stories, I thought it was brilliant because it was genuine alignment and intention with these brands and chefs partnering. The audience was being brought. The spaces were beautiful. They were really thinking about the design and really tying everything together cohesively. But I didn't really see it as something that was going to last. I thought it was going to maybe kind of like fizzle out, or maybe we were going to see a handful. But the two stories that really caught my eye this week was, one, there's a high-end train from a company called Belmond, which is a luxury train promising to be a quote-unquote movable feast with menus from Chef Simon Rogan. And for those that don't know, he collectively holds 10 Michelin stars across all of his restaurants.
That's crazy.
And the interior of these trains is like, it looks like a genuine either restaurant or side room of a hotel. For those that want to look it up, we'll link it in the show notes, but Belmond. And just that as a concept, they're going to basically tour around the UK to go to all of these little individual places. And one of the places that they pass through happens to be a place where Chef Simon Rogan has a restaurant. And so, again, from an alignment perspective, it's like, we're already taking you on this tour. We're already taking you past this property. The other one that is like maybe not so connected to a luxury brand, but more of a, I guess, like upscale travel brand. When my wife and I went to go do our honeymoon in Peru, we stayed at this property called Explora, and Explora contracts out to Virgilio from Central to do all of the menus at that property. And so breakfast, lunch, and dinner at that property are from, the mind of, or the team of, the team at Central, which, we obviously had the opportunity to go to Central and eat as well. And so we didn't really see it as like, this is a replacement for a meal there. But it was this sense of like, oh my goodness, we were already going to go with Explorer, but we were even more excited to hear that the food we were going to be enjoying was going to be like this next level. And it truly was like actually phenomenal. And the other story, for those that didn't see it, in Japan, in the Ginza neighborhood, they're opening a Blue Box Cafe. Tiffany & Co. is partnering with Natsuko Choji from Et, and they are all kind of like fusing all of this together to take what worked in New York, where Tiffany & Co. at the flagship location partnered with Daniel Boulud to open this Blue Box Cafe. It is a beautiful piece of architecture in Ginza, like this blue, like almost dripping glass, type of look to the exterior. And they're working with this incredible chef who is local, who is, quote, going to infuse unique Japanese twists and seasonal ingredients with offerings like breakfast at Tiffany's, Holly's Favorites, and tea at Tiffany's. Yeah. And the price for this stuff is like ranging anywhere from $68 for breakfast at Tiffany's to tea at Tiffany's at $98. But the reservations are going to apparently be very hard to get. This opens in August of 2025. And I just think it's interesting that they could have taken Daniel Boulud, this is what works, we're going to move it to Tokyo. But it is this very intentional, we're going to partner with a Japanese chef. It's going to be a female Japanese chef in this like luxury jewelry brand. And for those that don't know, she has been like incredibly good at the collaborations she's done. I bought a card for it because she's the first chef in the world to have a Pokemon card with an illustration from her.
Wow.
It's an EV card, and in the background is like one of her signature fruit tarts in the background of this Pokemon card.
This up.
It's amazing.
Sounds awesome.
And so my takeaways from all of this happening, obviously we have Cafe Dior in Dallas from Dominique Crenn. Sushi Park Paris is a collaboration between Saint Laurent and Peter Park of Sushi Park. And so the takeaways that I take from this is, one, alignment. If there is a true connection and a willingness to collaborate between the brand and the chef, these can be hyper successful. there obviously have been examples where these have been flops, but I credit a lot of that towards either it felt like just a big paycheck for the chef and they weren't actually bought into this concept,
Yeah.
or you saw some of these rebuttals when some of these opportunities were being presented where the brand wasn't actually willing to give up enough creative control to the chef and they were putting too much of their, voice in the meeting and saying, no, we want the menu to be this. If it is that true, again, like collaboration energy between the process, I really think you see these finding their feet. And so for the chefs who are listening who might get this opportunity presented to you in the future, because if the hyper successful luxury brands are doing it, I don't see how it doesn't trickle down into other more like either micro brands or even seeing companies that raise a lot of money, or an e-commerce company that happens to be more of a lifestyle brand and they want to partner to do a dinner or something in their one of their flagship stores.
Yeah.
Just being like relentlessly honest about what you want out of this partnership, you can see it blossom into something great. So that was my first takeaway. And the second one was just financial savviness around stuff like this. Because you look at real estate as an example. Some of these stores are in some of the most prime real estate and great locations in whatever city they happen to be in. And restaurants don't always have that opportunity, or chefs don't always have that chance to get some of that real estate without paying an exorbitant price tag.
Mm-hmm.
And for these brands, it's like we just need a representation on whatever that Rodeo Drive, Fifth Avenue needs to be.
Yeah.
And so you also see pricing not be such a factor. I shared some of the pricing on the Blue Box Cafe side of things. Chefs actually have the opportunity, because that larger brand is saying, we actually want this person to buy a $3,000 piece of jewelry, or we want this person to buy a $5,000 suit later.
Yeah.
And so we actually don't need this concept to be quote unquote the most profitable thing inside of the business. Does that take the pressure off of chefs to be the one who's actually driving the profitability in the concept? You can actually just come in and you don't even have to worry about things like marketing or getting people to come in and butts in seats, because people are just coming into the boutique or the shop anyways. And so that's actually really beneficial. And then the third one is like, you see these clients or the customers of these brands thinking that they're saving time. It's like perceived time savings,
Mm-hmm.
because I can just go to, I can go to the Tiffany store and then I can take a cab across town to go to Danielle, or I can just go to the Blue Box Cafe and I can have Danielle Boulud's food and I can buy my piece from Tiffany. And that saves me time on my vacation. And for the people who, think in that way, where time is the most valuable asset here, it actually ends up being something they're willing to pay for, and they're willing to just like even get more excited about engaging with that brand. And so I'm quite honestly surprised that it's still a thing, and we're still seeing more people both test with stuff and then actually like expand things that they've seen success with even further. I don't know, like I'm not the LVMH shopper, and so I'm not, going to be the one to go to some of these. But again, anytime that I can see an opportunity for chefs that they can leverage to, again, take some of the pressure off of them, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. I'm curious if you have thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the Alinea piece I did last week. Real estate's everything. How you map out a dining room is everything. If you can have a brand, a luxury brand, or something that just adds value to your restaurant where you can make revenue out of, and have them kind of foot the bill or be a part of the bill, or be a part of the cost of building that out, and have it focus on your food, I think that's a good thing. And yeah, this just showcases, and I encourage the ability for chefs to build out and go into like different realms of entrepreneurship, and this is one of them. And so yeah, I find it very fascinating, and I think it's a great way for chefs to not only build their personal brand, but it just kind of lays the groundwork, like you said, for like other types of partnerships. How many collaborations you see now between a brewery and a restaurant, or you might see from a local business and a restaurant. Like, it doesn't have to be these like end of the spectrum extreme cases of having fancy jewelry shops and fancy trains and all that. It can simply be like a local business with a local restaurant. But I think it's a good thing, and I think anything restaurateurs can do to kind of spread out and leverage their footprint is always good.
Well, Hormozy had this definition of brand, which was basically centered around this idea of association. And so the brand is not the font that you decide to use. It is like when people see that brand or hear about that brand, it's like a reputation combined with association.
Yeah.
And so if you can do from the outset, maybe you're a young chef listening to the show and you might have aspirations to do some of this like in the future, brands look at that stuff from the sense of how have you decided to associate yourself across your career. And so thinking about some of this stuff very intentionally, I can see because this is already proven to have some longevity, I think we might see a Lindy effect here, where the longer this becomes a thing, the more length it might have in the future. And so chefs might actually start out their career saying, this is a brand that I aspirationally want to work with in some capacity in the future someday.
Mm.
And then they can basically build their career in a way that ladders up to that moment where they ultimately do get that offer.
Yeah.
And so I just think that it is something that, was something that you might get the occasional dinner to collaborate, where I remember at the French Laundry, we would have like JP Morgan did a dinner out in the garden every year. And that was like, okay, they're doing this buyout. It's like a big spend of money. There's, a photography team that's going to come and do all of this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But this is like a true concept focused on that association, the brands combining their forces together. And so it's going to be a thing I continue to keep my eye on and see where it goes.